Still with me? Welcome one and all here at Hope and to our live streaming audience. I'm your host, Jimmy Kimmel, Dave Larson, and I'm very glad to be with you tonight because I had kind of a close call this afternoon. I didn't get on to news and notes, but I just want to share it with you. I love to horseback ride, little known fact. And I was out on this fine day moving along, picking up speed, when my left foot slipped out of the stirrup. And before long, because we were going faster, I found myself slipping off to the side. And I saw my whole life flash in front of me. And then, to the rescue, the Walmart manager came and unplugged it. In 2009, Hope tried an experiment which came to be known as Prairie Hope Companion, an annual parody and talent show. It was a version of the Prairie Home Companion on National Public Radio hosted by Garrison Keillor. Over the years, Prairie Hope became a time for us as a church to celebrate our talents, learn to laugh at ourselves, and not take ourselves too seriously. Tonight is not a revival of Prairie Hope Companion, or any kind of revival. Some of it may sound like it or look like it, but tonight is really an opportunity to take stock of where we are as a church at this particular time. Give thanks to God for His faithfulness over the years, and recognize that some of us are still grieving over leaving the Christian Reformed Church. Some of us are angry at having to leave the Christian Reformed Church. Some of us are still wondering what all of this has been about. And others are at a point where the future is bright and we can't wait to see what's happening next. So, wherever you find yourself on that spectrum, we're glad you're here. And we hope this marks yet another moment in the history of Hope Church, a Reformed Christian community. We're going to start tonight by learning a song. Maybe some of you know it. Most of you probably don't, but we're going to try to teach it to you. I'm going to sing it for you first, so fasten your seatbelts. This could be a crash. And then you'll sing it the second time, the first verse the second time. And then eventually we'll introduce a second verse, and you'll be able to follow along. The song goes something like this. Tell me why the stars do shine. Tell me why the ivy twines. Tell me why the sky's so blue. And I will tell you just why I love you. Oh, what is it? And now with the aid of our Hope Big Screen, now that you have the tune, you're ready for the words, which my lovely assistant will assist with. Are you ready? Same tune, same verse. Here we go. Tell me why the stars do shine. Tell me why the ivy twines. Tell me why the sky's so blue. And I will tell you just why I love you. All right, sounds great. Although this time now on the second verse, which will also be on the big screen, try to harmonize if you can. That would be it'll just elevate this song quite a bit. Are you ready? Second verse goes like this. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Because God made the stars to shine, because God made the ivy twine, because God made the sky so blue, because God made you. That's why I love you. Okay, now for the finale. If you're able, please stand and turn to someone and sing this song, especially the last line, all right? Oh, here the big screen is malfunctioning for just a moment. There you go. All right, here, we're ready. Because God made the stars to shine, because God made the ivy twine, because God made the sky so blue, because God made you, that's why I love you. Give yourselves a hand. That was beautiful. And have a seat. We thought it important that we at least start the night in harmony, and you did a good job of it. We're going to start tonight by giving some thought to Hope's DNA. Hope's DNA. And a good place to start in thinking about hope is exactly that, looking at its historic DNA, the sort of things that have always been in the bones of this church. One such marker is compassion and welcome for all. We'll hear first from Arlo Campan. The Campans, Arlo and Rena, have been members at Hope for slightly over a half century. Let's give them a hand. They've been blessed by all four pastors at Hope. They've served on council several times, and Arlo has also preached upon occasion and always loves listening from the pew. Let's welcome Arlo Campan.
As an old man, I'm always a little bit anxious about my memory. But working on this was wonderful and brought back some really interesting memories for me. I'll share a few of them with you. When I came to Chicago to take a position at Trinity Christian College in 1974, I searched for a Christian Reformed church that would be willing to call a California and Methodist educated pastoral counselor to a psychology teaching position. Eagerly and quickly, Henry Vellinga, Hope's founding pastor, told me, "Oh, for sure, we are a gathering of wounded people, many wounded by other Christian Reformed churches. Sure, we'll call you." As an educated psychologist, I knew that only wounded people can truly be compassionate. So instantly, I knew Hope would be my home. It was not long before I was on the all-male church council. That was Henry's way, too. Get new people involved quickly. Very soon, I realized two things. First, an unspoken criteria for being an elder was that you needed to have a feel for your woundedness. Without that, you were in danger of becoming a judgmental authority and not a compassionate leader. That criteria was unheard of in the Christian Reformed Church in 1975. But it's right and holy. And the second thing was that you needed to be willing to go to Jardines for a very smooth, very sweet apricot brandy stone sour after the council meeting. If you get a chance, ask Rena how she likes apricot brandy, stone sours, and maybe connected a bit to a Dutch drink called Boermeisjes. Well, I thought that that too was unheard of in the Christian Reformed Church, but it was an essential, caring relationship time. That too felt right and holy. It was not long before the wounded and increasingly compassionate male leadership recognized the deep injustice and prejudicial wounding involved in excluding women from church office at Hope. It was not right, nor holy, to treat them as second-class members. If we were to continue to be a compassionate church, we needed them. They would bring a depth of feeling and a valuing of relationships that males needed. The change was right and holy. All of us, males and females, soon came to recognize that our intense passion for the issue of women in church office included something very deep in our souls. I recall how the fight at classis and finally at synod was championed throughout by our deeply loved rebel theologian and pastoral counselor, Marv Hoagland. This fight stamped compassion into our identity one more time. The presence of women in council, in leadership, in the pulpit deeply transformed Hope. It enabled us to blossom into a community of very normal, wounded, and compassionately caring saints. Praise be to God. But being compassionate was not always easy for us. We found ourselves most challenged when it came to being compassionate with our pastors, especially when their woundedness became evident to us. Every committee, every person, in fact, in our very souls, we were buffeted, pummeled, and torn. How were we to maintain our compassion for them while struggling to respect our personal and moral compasses? Even after it was all officially over, we struggled. And many of us realized we wished we had done it a little differently. We found being compassionate was tough. We realized that we failed. We too easily judged and blamed. We ended up wounding our admired and loved pastors and our fellow church members. We longed to know how to show compassion better. It was a hard but important Christian lesson we learned those years. We also need to have compassion for ourselves, for our failures, for our woundedness. At Hope, our wounds are often visible. We break a leg. The brain bursts a blood vessel. Or a partner dies. Or an accident happens. At those times, our compassion shows up quickly and strongly. Meals are arranged, phone calls are made, transportation is offered, a plant is sent, a quilt is made and delivered, and when it is our pastor in an accident, he gets them all. We know, and I believe the good Lord knows too, the depth of our affection for compassion. It's stamped in our hearts and embedded on our souls. When then the human sexuality report arrived in our inboxes, we were solid and prepared. We are a welcoming, compassionate Christian community for all wounded, struggling people. It was very clear in our souls we could not and would not embrace purity and shaming blame. Our compassionate character was deep, solid, and unconflicted. Compassion came full circle. From the wounds of judgmentalism to a full embrace of compassion. Compassion for wounded men and women. Compassion for wounded pastors. Compassion for all genders. And finally, an inner compassion for our own wounds in our own souls. Thank God that providentially, Calvinistically providentially, this was our journey, and that we together made this journey to this time and this place. We are now Hope Church, a compassionate, reformed Christian community for wounded people. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Arlo. It's not too much of a stretch to say that Clay Carlson is the one that brings a steady beat to worship at Hope. He also plays the guitar and sings, and the song he brings to us tonight is about his family's search for a church, finding Hope's unique DNA, loving intergenerational worship, and God's grace. Welcome, Clay Carlson.
It's a song about how we found hope, and maybe it's a song about how we all found hope. We were looking for a home, going door to door, never felt so alone, but she knew her and I knew him. Maybe there's a place here for us. Sometimes you find yourself with nowhere else to go. You've been pushed aside and you need some way to cope. Come and find a place at Hope. You're not welcome there anymore. Not if you do that, think that, let her lead, love him too. Who could ever take us now? Sometimes you find yourself nowhere else to go. You've been pushed aside and you need some way to cope. Come and find a place at Hope. But my mom goes there and her dad goes there, anywhere but there. But my mom's still there and her dad's still there. Why would I be anywhere but there? Sometimes you find yourself with nowhere else to go. You've been pushed aside and you need some way to cope. Come and find a place at Hope. So you tried to just not go. What does it matter anyway? cross, but grace, but grace, but grace, but hope. There's still hope. Sometimes you find yourself nowhere else to go. You've been pushed aside and you need some way to go. Come and find yourself. Come and be a part. Come and find a place at home.
Thank you, Clay. That's amazing. We ought to make recordings of that. Yeah, we'll work on that. Well, Lisa Dykstra was probably in her infancy when Hope was taking a close look at Scripture, spiritual gifts, and the parts that women have played in God's good news. She is one of a number of Hope women who have chaired council or represented Hope at classis or synod, and it won't be long before Mark and Lisa's daughters take up one of those positions. This history happened at Hope when women in church office meant at most CRC churches that the church secretary was a woman. Please welcome Lisa Dykstra.
I played church more often than I played house as a kid. My stuffed animals heard many a pious and lofty sermon while sitting in their neat pew-like rows. And even though it was the 80s and we were in a CRC church, my mom, ignoring the masculine monopoly on church leadership, told me I could be a pastor. So it surprised no one that I majored in religion and immersed myself in church life. When I moved to Chicagoland, I was eager to experience all the various churches in the area for a while before settling in on a church home. I'm not very judgy. I like church. I like to observe the ins and outs of churches and just see how they click. And I knew that the Bible's religious and cultural authority was one of the most important means by which a woman's place in society was defined, and that church culture was largely shaped by the Bible. So I found it intriguing how women of the Word found ways to offer their gifts in leadership and service in the church. I was especially tuned in to how strong, gifted, thoughtful, Spirit-filled women maneuvered in effective and non-threatening ways in churches with a masculine monopoly on church leadership. When I first came to Hope, I didn't know its history, but I saw strong, gifted women leading and serving uninhibited in all manners of ways. Men and women leading and serving together on council, teaching adult education, leading vacation Bible school, preaching, teaching Sunday school, praying beautiful prayers of the people, serving coffee and lemonade, leading Bible studies and prayer groups, women as deacons and liturgists and landscape artists and worship planners and secretaries and preachers and treasurers. I didn't know how much good, difficult work had gone into paving a path for women to use their gifts in all areas of church life. I waltzed in 2005 and skipped right along on that beautiful, well-paved, well-trodden path, invited into full life at Hope right from the start, joining alongside strong, gifted, spirit-filled, thoughtful men and women in serving at Hope. I was surrounded by enthusiastic support and genuine encouragement. Women like Cheryl Weirs and Lori Louders and Elsa Fenema, who inquired about teaching high school Bible classes, gender-inclusive language in our Bibles, leading a worship service at Synod while a delegate. The early actions of Hope Church were influential in the way women's gifts were and are currently being celebrated at Hope. And it makes me smile when I imagine the future, knowing that today's young people, my own daughters, find it normal to hear sermon examples that include a female's distinct perspective. No big deal to have men and women serving communion together. Just another Sunday quoting Barbara Brown Taylor. Women delegates at classes hosted by men in aprons serving cookies and coffee isn't a joke. The church cultural reversal statement being made is lost on them because they see everyone is encouraged to use their God-given gifts to serve the church in whatever capacity they are led. I am grateful for the ways Hope has and continues to celebrate the gifts of all, including women in the church.
Thank you, Lisa. There are always smiles at Hope when the little kids make their way to the front of church before being dismissed for children in worship. I'm especially enthralled with how Sylvie Rosenboom finds her way up the ramp and leaps to join the others before being dismissed. Along with Mary Van Lowe, Margie Coleman has had a tremendous impact on Hope's children through VBS and Children in Worship. She's also enriched our worship with her wonderful voice and guitar. Please welcome Margie, who will sing "The Water is Wide."
I did tell Dave he could make up anything he wanted about me for my introduction, so I was really looking forward to, I don't know what, but something. And so he was very kind, which I guess I'm thankful for. Water is wide, can cross over, neither have I wings to fly. Build me a boat can carry two, boat shall row, my love and I. There is a ship, she sails the sea, she's loaded deep, as deep can be, not so deep as the love I'm in. I know not how I sink or swim. as gold fades away like summer dew. Water is wide, can cross over, and neither have I wings to fly. Build me a boat that can carry two. Bushel Road, my love and I, and Bushel Road, my love and
Well, thank you very much. You know, a sound like that, you just don't want it to end, right? Come on back, Margie. Glenn Miedema says that he's been blessed by teaching catechism at Hope for over 25 years, although he believes the catechumens come mainly for the brownies. He's also, little known except to choir members, the unofficial court jester for Hope's choir, fond of affectionately heckling David Barr from the back row of the bass section. He's here tonight to speak about Hope's music tradition. Please welcome Glenn.
I showed up at Hope in the late 70s, recently divorced, a low point in my life. Henry Vellinga, the founding pastor, preached a message of love, to give and accept love, to spread love. It was affirming and exactly what I needed to hear from a pulpit. I didn't know many folks here, but I was immediately accepted and encouraged to participate, to belong. Jim Quastany, a tall, solid bass voice, who was a new friend, suggested I join choir, and that made sense. I love to sing. That was 45 years ago. The use of music in a service at Hope was different than any in the churches that I had previously attended. I couldn't find the number boards in the front of the sanctuary that would direct me as to what songs we would be singing. There were multiple books to sing from, and at times we'd sing songs in different languages, and it wasn't always Dutch. The style of liturgy used was brand new to me as well. The congregation had a very active voice in the service, and the liturgy changed every week. It wasn't the same old standard service. Music selection was intentional and helped the entire experience hold together, complementing the scripture and enhancing the sermon. And boy, this congregation could and still does sing. Hope is a church run by committees, and back then, if you attended more than a few church services, you'd likely be asked to join one of the committees. This is how I ended up on the music committee, which had recently been formed as a subcommittee to the liturgical committee. Serving on this committee helped me become aware of the passion this congregation has for liturgically sound music. It was the group of women on this committee, Marcia Staub, Elsa Fenema, Dora Deephouse, Lynn Hollander, who helped me understand the importance of being intentional about musical choices in our services. Their love and passion for this issue was inspirational and contagious. We had robust, meaningful, and long discussions regarding the role of music at Hope. Did I mention long discussions? Somehow it didn't matter. when the conversation was deeply authentic. From the beginning, music has been part of the lifeblood of Hope. We have enjoyed a great variety of instruments that members have played in our services: organ, piano, violin, saxophone, French horn, cello, and recorder are a few examples of instruments we've been blessed by. Through the rough patches of our life together, music has brought us back to corporate worship by uniting our voices in song. Giving opportunity to congregants to offer their musical gifts in our worship has been a paramount goal, and this goal is being met. Our accompanists have led the way, so thank you, Dora, Lynn, Aaron, now Anna. We've had multiple choir directors, some with doctorates, and other regular pew sitters who have helped conduct our group of singers. From a guitar-strumming, Bruce Springsteen-loving pastor to an accompanist who has played at Carnegie Hall. Aaron Pacheco gave us a new, wonderful resource for worship and music. Talented, multi-generation musicians continue to use their voices and a variety of instruments to make our services rich. I asked for input from choir members about what the music at Hope means to them, and here are just a few of the highlights. Lessons and carols on Christmas Eve. Good Friday services with orchestral accompanists. Quiet, reflective Taizé services. Margie Coleman singing baptized children into the body of Christ. The acquisition of the pipe organ built by Garrett Vercade, quite a different sound for the sanctuary from the old Hammond organ. Through our music, we create a stronger community. Lifting our voices together unites us in praising God, acknowledging his love and giving thanks for his gifts, his endless goodness. That's a paraphrase of a quote by Garrison Keillor. We recall singing hymns and learning harmonies from the Red Psalter hymnal standing next to our grandparents. Connecting to our heritage and deep traditions is a good thing. Moving forward and enriching our worship with hymns and spiritual songs from the Red Lift Up Your Hearts hymnal is a good thing too. Looking for a way to expand your musical experience at Hope? Allow me a brief commercial message. If you like to sing, the choir could use your voice. Many of us have been aging, some might say fermenting for years in the choir. Come join us. It's a welcoming environment. I met a beautiful brunette in the alto section over 45 years ago. Just saying.
One of the benefits of joining choir is to watch Glenn in action. One of my favorite memories of Aaron Repman is the morning young son, Anthony, belly crawled from the very last rows on that side of church all the way to the front, underneath the seats, underneath and through the legs and chairs and the legs of people, all the way around, while Aaron was frantically running back and forth trying to find out where his kid was. So, unsuccessfully, by the way. So picture that the next time Anthony passes the offering plate to you. Well, we're going to hear more from Aaron later, but for now, he will lead us in a round of praise and thanksgiving. Aaron?
I didn't know Dave was going to tell that story. But every time I hear that story or a version of it, because there were other incidents that were similar, I'm so grateful that this church helps me to hold that memory with love and humor, because I was so angry. It's an ongoing gift. Having just heard from Glenn about Hope's musical traditions, our firm intention was that Dr. David Barr, our beloved choir director, was going to lead us in song. And as you know, he is right now attending to dying siblings far away from here. David, if you are watching this or listening to this now or later, please know that we love you. Through you, we love your extended family, and our hearts and our prayers are with you. So you get me instead of Dr. Barr. we're going to sing together. Would you please open up that red hymnal and turn to 873? And would you please, if you're able, stand with me? You may remember a few weeks ago, as the choir was about to start its season of rehearsals and services, David stood up here and led us in an impromptu choir rehearsal during the service, which came with a word of invitation, much like Glenn's. We're going to do something like that again. I hope this song is familiar to many. If it's not familiar to you, you'll catch on to it very soon. First of all, and we're going to do this unaccompanied, just the beauty of the human voices breathing together. Would you sing with me verse 1, and then I'll have some more instructions after that. Praise and thanksgiving let everyone bring unto our Father for every good thing, all together joyfully sing. Lovely. Now we're going to do this in a 3-part round, just like David likes to lead us in. You all here are part 1. You here will be the brave part 2 to jump in, and you here will be part 3. I'll bounce around and lead you, and we'll do all 3 verses. When you get to the end of one verse, just go on to the next one. Praise and thanksgiving let everyone bring. Praise and thanksgiving let everyone bring. Praise and thanksgiving let everyone bring. All people all people join us and sing of God's praise. All people join us and sing of God's praise. May we go May we go out from here sharing God's love. May we go out from here sharing God's love. All together joyfully sing. All together joyfully sing.
What I'm about to read is from the History of Hope News and Notes. Children in Worship announces that next Sunday, the kids will consider the influence of neo-Orthodox theories of Christian existentialism in the development of liberation theology and Third World Catholicism in the light of recent papal positions on redefining ecumenism and ecofeminism. Adult Sunday school will march around the church as if it's Jericho. And this also in the History of Hope News and Notes, our beloved pastor Roger Nelson will soon announce the beginning of a new sermon series on the difficult passages in Deuteronomy. Join us in the next few weeks for the following services. October 5, choir singing and from Deuteronomy, eating fat and forbidden blood. October 12, choir will not be singing, and from Deuteronomy, regulations about infectious skin diseases. And October 19, maybe baptism and Deuteronomy, regulations about mildew and hooved animals. Be sure to tell your friends and neighbors about this upcoming series. Roger never disappoints. Steve and Jelaine Bellin, 2 young whippersnappers, whippersnappers, have attended Hope, acetaminophen, have attended Hope, have attended Hope for 55 of its 64 years under the leadership of all 4 of Hope's pastors. They are here to let us eavesdrop on their conversation about the clay feet of Hope's pastors.
This was developed around a table, so we had to have the table to do it. We came to Hope in 1970. Jelaine was CRC, and I was a mongrel. But when we walked into Hope, we knew we had found a home, and part of that was because of Hope's first pastor. What do you remember about him? What stands out?
Henry Valenga planted Hope Church. He was warm and energetic and great at connecting with people. He was open, non-judgmental, and really set the tone for Hope.
Did you know that he served as a chaplain for the Oak Forest Police Department? We were a bunch of CRC refugees, but Henry was super active in Oak Forest and had a charisma that attracted lots of local people.
We grew and we grew and we grew. We built a new sanctuary, and he served Hope Church for 21 years.
Until he didn't. One weekend, Henry was arrested in the forest preserve. It made the local newspaper. Initially, I remember the elders didn't really know what to do.
Yes, it was a really demanding time. And I remember Henry left very quickly. For so many, it was heartbreaking. We lost a lot of people with that situation.
But even in his leaving, he was dearly loved.
Do you remember how long we were vacant?
About a year. Ultimately, Russ Palzarok was called from his work in Hawaii.
He left Hawaii for Oak Forest?
God calls in mysterious ways. But Russ brought an administration structure to Hope when it was really needed. What do you remember about their living conditions?
Oh, that was awful. Every Sunday, the parsonage was filled with church people at Sunday school and nursery, and then all the time the flooding occurred in their basement.
But we had good times as well, as families.
Yes, Thanksgiving comes to mind. How we and the Bonticos and the Palsrocks cooked a turkey dinner because none of us had family here.
And then we'd go bowling with all the kids after dinner.
But Russ soon found that the congregation went where they pleased at their own pace and in their own manner. Even with this lack of structure, Hope Church was always a shining light in the Chicago community.
4 years later, Russ got restless and took a call to serve the mission field in Africa.
But it was hard to see them go.
We sure had a lot of associate pastors, didn't we?
Sure, yes, we sure have. Marv Hogan comes to mind. He was so instrumental in formulating the theological position for us with regards to women serving in the church.
And that would take 25 years before Synod would open all the ecclesiastical offices to women.
And what that meant to Betty Vanderlaan. She worked so hard to become ordained.
It took another year after Russ left for us to call William Lenners. Wasn't he serving in Arizona?
Yes. Bill was a counselor and a preacher. He enriched the congregation for 11 years with his preaching and counseling skills.
Sadly, he and Barb celebrated their anniversary the same day as ours, and we often went out to dinner together.
But it was his involvement with a church member that forced the council to ask him to resign his leadership here. Sadly, we lost a minister and many family members.
Well, we had 3 years in which Evelyn Deephouse and Aaron Marshallink graciously guided the congregation through this transition.
They were such a blessing.
In 2002, we called Roger Nelson, and for 23 wonderful years, he blessed us as our preacher, writer, storyteller, and friend.
In his ministry, he introduced Aaron Pachinko, who enriched our music along with her preaching.
It's not quite the same when you're bald.
Are you still with us?
Thus, for 64 years, the Congregation of Hope, a Christian Reformed church,
a reforming church,
and most of all, the little church on the corner has served the kingdom as best our human, not perfect pastors could.
After supper at night, they sit there with microphones and talk to each other. And now this other announcement from News and Notes from Hope's history. This has to do with Hope's HARP organization. The Hope Association of Retired People meets next Sunday afternoon in Chicago's Maggie Daley Park for their next adventure. They will be playing roller derby against a roller derby team from Willow Creek Church. Suit up by 3 p.m. Next month, skydiving, followed by an organ recital of their most recent ailments. Well, we've been at this long enough for a while tonight. It's time for a commercial. What do you think? Ketchup, maybe? David and Ann Vanderweel have been coming to Hope for decades. David arrived in 1986 when his family moved from Orange City, Iowa, to Worth, Illinois. A few years later, Ann started attending Hope's evening service. Yes, there was one back then. When her friends recruited her to Hope's high school youth group, then called Young People's Society, or YPS, or YEEPS. That's where David and Ann met. And we really knew at home why she was going to Hope's youth group. And the rest is history, a tall history. They've been playing the roles of Jim and Barb since, well, kind of forever. But formally, they've been playing these roles since Hope's first run of Prairie Hope Companion. Welcome, Jim and Barb.
These are the good years for Barb and me. The good, though sometimes controversial pastors of the past have moved on. And it seems like the new guy is starting to hit his stride. He's a little awkward getting up and down from the pulpit area, but the sermons are pretty good and reliable. These are the good years, though also the years of change. The kids have gotten older. We're getting used to being grandparents. With our friends at church, we now talk about aging. And you know, with all this change, it's good to have things that you can rely on, like the community at church, the new pastor, and church coffee. It's good to have things to rely on, like coffee.
Oh, Jim.
Yes, Barb?
Did you see what was set up at coffee?
Yes, the new table. So you have somewhere to put your empty cup. I thought it was a nice addition.
No, not that. They have tea.
Oh, yes, I saw that too. I thought that was nice too. Church is always so inclusive.
I'm all for being inclusive, but tea? Are we Anglican? No, we're American.
Now, Barb.
The time after church is called coffee, not hot beverage time.
Well, Barb, some people, mind you, not anyone we know, but some people don't drink coffee.
Well, what's next? Hot chocolate? I feel like I don't even know the church anymore. They might as well change the name.
Barb, that happened too.
What?
Well, they didn't change the words.
So they didn't change the name.
No, they did. They changed the order of the words and added a couple words.
So it's the same church, same name, but more words?
Yes, something like that. They're going to announce it tomorrow.
I don't even know this place anymore.
You know, Barb, do you know what else they should add to the tea table?
What, Jim?
Ketchup.
What?
Ketchup. It has natural mellowing agents. It helps you get used to new things, like tea at coffee, or confusingly similar names.
Huh. Ketchup. If you say so, Jim.
These are the new times, full of change and fear. New names, new classes, everything will take adjustment here. We will make it with ketchup and with cheer. Ketchup, ketchup, ketchup.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there. The soothing voice, maybe some of you guessed, and gentle piano background music came from Russ and Lynn Hollander and was previously recorded with assistance from Skylar Rosaboom, the electronic wizard of Hope. Let's give Skylar a hand. Aaron Repman discovered Hope Church as a freshman at Trinity Christian College some 35 years ago. You do the math. His Uber drivers were Bob and Gail Rice, and we're glad they gave him a ride each Sunday because of the contributions of the entire Repman family on ministry at Hope. Aaron is here to reflect on Hope and the Christian Reformed Church. Let's welcome Aaron.
It's me again. Perspective isn't everything, but it sure does matter a lot. In the broader North American religious landscape, the Christian Reformed Church has always been a pretty small operation, both in terms of its absolute numbers and in terms of the way it has worked throughout most of its history. As an ethnic religious community, highly conscious of its immigrant roots and relying on a high degree of personal and family knowledge of one another. I used to claim that I could navigate my way around Grand Rapids, Michigan, even though I have never lived there, simply because I've been reading the denominational magazine The Banner for decades, including its classified advertisements section, which many people in the Western Michigan core of the CRC seem to use like a local newspaper. But as I said, perspective matters a lot, because even though my own longer family roots are in the CRC, my home congregation when I was growing up was part of an even smaller conservative Presbyterian denomination, a denomination maybe 1/10 the size of the CRC, if you can imagine that. I received a lot of good formational gifts from that church that I grew up in. In fact, in some significant ways, it probably saved my life. But broad cultural vistas were neither the heritage nor the priority of that little band of Presbyterian faithful. So when I started coming to Hope Church as a fresh one at Trinity Christian College, it was in part because I knew some people here, several of my own most influential professors, not limited to the ones who gave me a ride. But it was also with a wide-eyed sense of wonder for the cultural and intellectual reach that I discovered in the Christian Reformed Church. Here was a church tradition that valued and encouraged not just theologians and biblical scholars, but sociologists and students of literature and cultural historians and biologists and chemists and psychologists and musicologists and even philosophers. I've often told the story in many places of how I became a philosopher myself through the influence of one of my undergraduate mentors, who was a member here at Hope at the time. But I also have to admit, and this just occurred to me as I was writing this, I have to admit that it might never have occurred to me that I could be a Christian philosopher if it weren't for the educational and cultural sensibilities that had been fostered in the CRC. True, as others have already said this evening, there were a lot of ways that Hope Church was not a typical Christian Reformed church. But even those things that made Hope sort of edgy in the CRC were possible because of patterns and traditions and attitudes that were deeply rooted in the CRC's way of being. That included a deep reverence for both of what the Belgic Confession calls the two books of God's revelation, in which the first book is not Scripture, but the creation, preservation, and government of the universe. And that same Belgic Confession insisted that God's holy church is not confined, bound, or limited to a certain place or certain people, but is spread and dispersed throughout the entire world, though still joined and united in heart and will in one and the same Spirit by the power of faith. In joining Hope Church, and thereby also joining the CRC, I was participating in a particular church that saw itself as part of the worldwide and world-uniting universal church, the big story of God's intricate care for all that God has created, even as that creation continues to unfold and develop in unexpected ways into the unimaginable future. Thanks be to God. But as we have experienced in the painful developments of recent years, that Christian Reformed Church, fearlessly open to discover and debate and join in with the still unfolding and not yet understood movements of God's Spirit in the world, that CRC no longer exists in its institutional expression. As an organization, the Christian Reformed Church in North America has become dominated by a spirit of suspicion toward the wider world and a desire to close down options and control understandings within the church. As Hope Church's leaders have said many times over the past few years, as we are leaving the CRC, it's largely because the CRC has already left us. You don't have to applaud for this one.
It's something we need to sit with for a while. Hope you'll reprint that in this thing called the Hope Herald. What? Oh no, wait, sir. Not all night now.
I got it. I did write some things down, but. Well, my name is Mr. Christian Reform. We've been members here at Hope for about 18, 19 years now. Before that, we attended another perfectly good Christian Reformed church close to here, but the kids wanted to join here. Yeah, like you see them around here very much anymore. We joined right during the last capital campaign here at Hope. You know, we got stuck with that bill. Well, at least we're done with that. Well, the way I see it, this whole controversy is about sex. And just for the record, the Bible doesn't have a lot of positive things to say about sex. Except, of course, in the Song of Solomon in the Old Testament. Way back when, my mom was a Christian school teacher, mostly junior high, and she just avoided the whole book of the Song of Solomon. There was always some smart aleck 8th grader who would start asking questions about some verse in there. My mom was she was the school librarian, and she was all for free speech and literature, especially general literature and that sort of things, except for the week that the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue came out. There were just too many junior high boys suddenly interested in the library that week. She always hid that issue in her desk. She also was not a fan of sex education classes. She said the kids knew more about sex than she did. Well, I read that denominational human sexuality report. You knew it was going to be bad already on the first page mandates section, and I've written it down, and I quote, "The committee will be constituted of members who represent diversity and who adhere to the Christian Reform's established biblical view on marriage and same-sex relationships." It's like, okay, Galileo, that whole thing about does the earth go around the sun or does the sun go around the earth? All right, we'll appoint a study committee, but everybody in the committee has got to believe what we always believe, so don't get your hopes up too much. So I went to Synod last year. That was quite the experience. There weren't too many women delegates, and everybody took themselves pretty seriously. I gave a 3-minute speech about not changing anything, but the vote was overwhelmingly in favor of the right-wingers. I'm glad we're leaving. We're better off finding some normal people to talk to. Now, the biggest issue for me, since the term Christian Reformed is trademarked, is what I'm going to do about my name. In high school, I worked on a truck delivering baby furniture and would talk to the guys who I worked with and tell them that my father and grandfather were both Christian Reformed ministers and my husband was president of Calvin Seminary. Pretty soon they started calling me Mr. Christian Reform, and that name stuck. I'll tell you what, I'm not changing my name. I put the house and our bank accounts in my wife's name. If they come after me, I've got no assets. I don't think the denomination cares very much, but I wouldn't put it past those Abide Project guys to come after me. Let them come. I bet you that lawyer Rick Boonster would represent me. Hopefully pro bono. Well, thanks everybody. Young fella, can you help me down here?
Well, if Rick Boonster is watching, sharpen your pencils. Little known fact, Mr. Christian Reformed Church went to school with Galileo. I've been asked to read this announcement from the Creation Care Committee. First, we eliminated styrofoam cups and went with recycled paper cups. Then we eliminated landfill waste by using washable mugs. Now the Creation Care Committee would like to take the sustainability program to the next level. Beginning next Sunday, the coffee servers will pour the coffee directly into your mouth. In the future, the committee hopes to eventually save the energy wasted on heating water by simply issuing each person a handful of coffee beans to chew in church. Well, Emily Bermersky was baptized at Hope along with, imagine this, along with 10 other adorable babies, all at once, same service. Ran out of water. Stories told that the baptismal font was entirely drained that day, and much later, Emily and Dennis attempted to replicate that moment, but settled on triplets. Emily is here to tell us, not about choosing hope, but what it's like to grow up here. Let's welcome Emily.
All right. So everyone we've heard from pretty much so far tonight has told their way of finding their way to hope. But don't worry, that's not the story that I'm here to tell tonight. On a sunny Sunday in mid-August 1979, Russ and Lynn Hollander went to church in the morning, and I was born early that evening. I assume they made it back for the evening service. I was baptized at Hope that fall. The carpet was orange, the chairs were brown and white, the babies were decked out in handmade outfits. All the dads had really long hair. It was actually 6 babies. I had my mom count the babies in the picture. 4 that she could think of were baptized the next Sunday. So it was 6. I'm told that winter prior was quite snowy and the internet didn't exist yet. So my earliest memories of Hope are of feeling safe in a crowd. Hope was a place where everyone's mom was watching out for you and lots of the dads were out front smoking. Church school at the time started with a short sermon presented in front of the whole congregation. All the kids would come right up here. We would sit here on the steps. They were different steps, but here. And then someone from the congregation would sit there where Aaron is. And I don't remember there being anyone around them, so it felt like a sermon to me. And frequent presenters included Rich Venema, Marv Roloffs, Jim Ostman. And the one I remember most clearly involved actual bricks and mortar being built into a small wall right in front of us. I do not know what the story was about. Maybe we blew trumpets and the wall fell down. I don't know. Sunday school for elementary school age kids always started with singing in the children's choir, and we were seated on folding chairs on the basketball court after the service, and usually the Fenemas would lead that. We'd all drink too much lemonade first, and then Ellen Lebers would always join us, just delighted to be singing with us. Wednesday nights were for busy bees, Calvinettes, and cadets. I have no idea what boys were doing, but it seemed to always involve fire, carpentry skills, and injuries. I remember earning badges in things like cooking, sewing, baking, cosmetics, and for every activity that we completed, we got a patch that we ironed onto our Calvinette kerchiefs or sewed them on, and we would wear those to school, which blows my mind as the parent of junior hires now. By the mid-90s, the parsonage had been given over completely to high school kids. I guess the flooding in the basement, we handed it over to the high school kids. And we used that for the coolest youth group in town. Every other Sunday evening, we were making snacks, cooking soup for Roseland, watching movies, playing basketball, planning trips. Usually those trips were camping in the Midwest, but I do remember one time we took an Amtrak trip to Colorado to go skiing for spring break. So just to sum up here for a minute, The first 14 years of my life, I was attending Hope Sunday mornings, staying after the service for Sunday school, returning to church Sunday evening for second service, spending all of Wednesday evening at church. I didn't find my way to Hope. I found my way into the world knowing only Hope. As I grew, though, the fact that Hope was unique did begin to dawn on me. My grandparents attended another CRC church in the area, and the vibe there was quite different. The kids didn't go up front for the sermon. We were to be very quiet until we were dismissed to Sunday school. And women were not deacons there. I don't recall them even reading the liturgy there. At Southwest Christian School, I made friends and was often invited to attend church with them. And there again, no women in leadership roles, and children were to be seen and not heard. And then in the 90s, as the CRC debate over women in leadership was heating up, or maybe it was the 80s? It was the 90s by the time I was in high school, and I began to notice adults' reactions when they would ask me, "Where does your family go to church?" "Oh, Hope, that's interesting." In junior high, I even had a friend who would invite me over to her house frequently, but her parents wouldn't allow her to come to our house because we went to Hope. They weren't sure what might be going on there. So, why am I here to tell you all of this tonight? First, because I thought it'd be fun to reminisce and share these memories together with friends, whether or not you were here in the 80s and 90s or not. But more than that, I'm here to tell the stories of a place that's important. It's a place that has held strong through upheavals and disagreements and political divides for decades. It's a place that's created joy and love in times that are easy and times that are dark. And it's a place that gives me hope for the future.
Thanks, Emily, for the reminder that place is important and what happens in those places even more so. We're in the home stretch, folks. I know you can't wait for that Sunday spectacular, but we're going to sing together now. So open your hymnals to number 246. We're going to sing stanzas 1, 4, and 5 of number 246. And verse 5, you'll notice, is printed across the page from the music. And as we sing that verse, sing the last line. You see that last line now in verse 5? You're all focused now, right? All right. Sing that last line with the words, "Lord, Hope Church belongs to you." Okay? We'll have our eyes out for those who aren't singing it correctly. As Rookie of the Year Anna Triesenberg plays for us, let's stand if you're able. be seated. We at Hope Church are very grateful that there were no tariffs on India that might have kept Jensen Varghese from finding his way to Hope with Melissa and their children. He has served in leadership roles at Hope, most recently helping with the Hope for the Future capital campaign, and he's here to tell us more about that now. Welcome, Jensen.
Back in 2009, Melissa and I attended an event titled Radio Stories and Other Stories by NPR radio personality Ira Glass. For 2 unforgettable hours, seated behind what looked like a folding table from Costco, Ira Glass captivated the crowd with radio stories and other stories. Drawn from a decade of his celebrated podcast, This American Life. I had a hunch tonight would be the same. An emotional roller coaster through stories of the people who shaped this church. Hope stories and other stories from this Hope life. Thank you for being here this evening. We're deeply grateful that you chose to be here to celebrate the lives, gifts, and voices that make us who we are. I'm paraphrasing here, but Maya Angelou once said that people may forget what you said or what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. I love the way Hope makes me feel. In this community, our family has found a warm embrace and a genuine sense of belonging. Nearly every corner of this building holds a memory for me. We met the elders in the council room where we became members. My kids were baptized here with our parents beside us. Every Sunday, we participate in worship from the unofficial millennial section. Nursery drop-offs meant entrusting kids to volunteers who gracefully endured an hour of sit, stand, crawl, sit, stand, crawl, repeat. Nursery is where childcare meets CrossFit. In the heart of the atrium, during full council meetings, I've witnessed conversations, sensitive, thoughtful, and gracious, navigating our most complex challenges from COVID to Synod. Just down the hall, the fellowship space tells a different story. Fierce Pinewood Derby showdowns, chili cook-offs, household lunches, and the Sunday scramble for the last cookie. It's also where I once found myself awkwardly reclined, donating blood while chatting to Ray Ardema. Did your wife sign you up to this too? A few Sundays later, he gifted my kids a handcrafted stool, which has become a permanent fixture in our kitchen. I have a dozen stories like this, each being a testament to the kind of love that shows up unannounced around here. This building holds our stories, our laughter, and our shared life. To keep these stories thriving, we must tend to the spaces that shelter them. This is when I would like to introduce our campaign, the Hope for the Future capital campaign. Our theme, a place for all. Since 1963, our history has been shaped by a series of capital campaigns, each ensuring that our building continues to evolve to support our mission. Most recently, the Discover and Dream phase of the Love Hope Report highlighted several immediate capital campaign needs, opportunities to enhance how we gather, share, and experience community. This campaign is about renewal. We're investing in enhancements for the sanctuary with comfortable seating, new carpeting, enhancements to the atrium and the council rooms, improved signage, technology upgrades, and some minor repairs. Tomorrow after worship, we'll share a little bit more about the capital campaign and how you can support it. But tonight, the request is simple. As you head out from the sanctuary, pick up a brochure and a pledge card. Read it, reflect on it, pray on it, and come back tomorrow with questions. Through this campaign, we will have the opportunity to honor the legacy of those who built this church, enrich our experience of worship, and invest in the next generation of hope. Since the theme for our campaign is a place for all, I think this might be a good way to wrap up. It involves you. It does not involve singing. But one of my favorite songs at Hope is All Are Welcome. Lyrically, I think it's up there with the best of the best. Every verse begins with, let's build a house where? Verse 2, verse 3, all the way to verse 5. Let's build a house where? It's a great framework for what church should be. But then just before the last refrain, it goes, let this house proclaim from floor to rafter. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Jensen. More information tomorrow, as he mentioned, in adult ed after church. It's a good tease for tomorrow. And now for the grand finale, Margie Coleman's going to gather our voices and maybe some kids to sing Building Bridges. And as she gets ready, you're going to have your guitar? Oh, yeah. I mean, if you wanted to go, you know. All right. All right.
Okay, so here's the deal. Oh, go ahead. Please continue.
No, okay. We got to get going on this. Right here.
You do it. You're good.
I'm live now. All right. We've rehearsed this.
Oh, a million times. So many times.
I'd like, as Margie prepares, all those who planned for this evening, had a hand in planning this through a number of meetings, to stand. All those who participated up here to stand, and we can congratulate and thank those people for their good work. Would you do that now? Those who participated and those who planned. Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you. And now, Margie's going to lead us in building bridges.
Okay, so I've been here as long as Roger's been here. As soon as he got here, I hopped on over here. So I didn't start doing stuff right away, but pretty soon after, I started doing Vacation Bible School. And I did a lot of Mary Grace Hopkins songs and all kinds of stuff, and then I started writing my own songs. This is a song from a year that I think it was a construction theme. Sounds very biblical. I'm sure Jesus was in there also. This is a song called Building Bridges. I'm inviting, we didn't know who was coming tonight, but apparently parents are not into having their kids sing up past bedtime and then having ice cream. So that didn't happen. We were going to have kids sing with me. So I'm a kid. Margot's a kid. I have people who did some VBS with me. So anybody who did VBS with me, if you did Vacation Bible, oh, way to get out of it, Mark. Yeah, I think you could hand those to someone else, but okay. So a couple people are going to help me sing, but I guess what? This is the scary part, is I'm actually going to teach it to you like I taught Vacation Bible School. So it's a very easy song. We're going to do the whole song. You guys, the two helpers that I have, Lydia, also 3 helpers. Thank you. Can you give them a hand? Yes. Thank you. They're going to do the motions. They're going to sing the song. We're going to, and Lily also. So we are going, Lillian, sorry. We are going to sing it once, and then I'm just going to have you guys stand up, and you're going to learn the chorus, which is Building Bridges, and I'm just going to go through it real quick. So it goes, we're building, and guess what? This could be our theme song for Hope, and I've thought this since I wrote it, and so it could be it. So tonight's going to be it. So we're building bridges, make a big bridge, not walls, making them wider, not tall. I don't have an orange face, let's just say. Not tall. Our foundation is God alone. We're building foundation, built not on sand, but built on stone. And if you're a kid, you go, built on stone, because that's how they like to do it. And then we have a little part, and then, so you're just gonna sing that part with me at the end. So it goes like this. We're building bridges, not walls, making them wider, not tall, for our foundation is God alone, built not on sand, but built on stone. It's easy to build a bridge with God's peace and love and grace, from one nation to another, for every creed and race. We can build each other up, make God's kingdom fit and strong. We can heal this world together if we just try to get along. Here we go. We're building bridges, not walls, making them wider, not tall, for our foundation is God alone, built not on sand, but built on stone. All right. Thanks, guys.
Not every capital campaign has a theme song. I think that's really special. All right, would you please stand, and as we get ready to go to Fellowship Hall for the Ice Cream Sunday extravaganza, please receive this parting benediction. May the peace of the Lord Christ go with you wherever he may send you. May he guide you through the wilderness, protect you through the storm. May he bring you home rejoicing at the wonders he has shown you. May he bring you home rejoicing once again into our doors. Go in peace.